Hey guys, I was just sitting there having a um, coffee here, and I figured I'd make a quick little video. Um, I just made a video speaking on how I just came back from Washington D.C. and I was checking out all the monuments that of war that my grandfathers had participated in. Things like the invasion of Japan after they unprovokingly attacked us to stop an immediate threat of extermination, really. That's what was going on in Europe. I was checking out the the statue memorials of Iwo Jima and Vietnam. I was looking at some of the, obviously they have thousands of fallen soldiers' names in monument, and they have a few definitely impressive monuments there and memorials. And I actually have I had my book. I just sent it out. My autobiography of my life growing up with my grandfathers and whatnot. And I'm having that printed out right now as we speak. Like I said, I had a fictional character that came from the original story from when I was basically born. You know, the story about my grandfather, the submariner, who, he served inside of a tiny 60-man submarine, and he used to say that during battle he would, they spent a lot of time underwater. They were in real time battle, and they had to worry about planes flying by and seeing their boat popping up. So they were always underwater, and they were constantly fighting and battling Japanese ships, and I imagine German ships as well, depending on where they were. And you can imagine that the smells, in the tiny capsule that they were in. He was aboard the USS Bonefish 223. You can look it up on Google and get more detailed information on it. It did end up, he did get off the submarine and switch crew members, and when he switched crew members, they went back out, and they went right into, once again, they went right into Japanese enemy territory, and they sunk a transport ship. But pretty much immediately after that, they were spotted, and they were sunk. They were hit with depth charges by a destroyer, from what it says when you do the research. So they are on eternal patrol, they call it. And you can also see the list of crew members that were sunk, that went down with the ship, if you look it up. But so he thankfully he got off and served his time aboard it, and that combined with, when I was a little kid, I had, my nose is kind of big as it is, but when I was a kid, it was worse, and it was more red and whatnot. So he just thought it was funny to call me Pepe Le Pew sometimes, and Rudolph. He kind of gave me that nickname, and it kind of stuck a little bit. And but it was all in love. I felt insecure about it, I guess. And like I said, I've showed you before. There's pictures on my Instagram account that you could see, the depth of it or whatever. So with that, I had my fictional character that came from that, and that character is called Vanalizer, but the introduction is called Little Vano, Little Vano, however you want to say it. And it's a real cool character. I really like it, and it comes from heart and soul and selflessness. So I think that's important. I mean, I owed it to my grandfather. He was a Navy man, served in submarines, and I think I mentioned before that he had told me that he blew up they torpedoed some ships that they didn't know had Allied soldiers, so it kind of took a toll on him when they found out and whatnot, and when they seen the aftermath of the footage. They have some footage of it, but he, really manly man, I guess, an upstanding warrior. But he one year he actually put on a Santa Claus outfit and just to kind of solidify and bust chops about the Rudolph and Santa Claus scenario. He actually went and sat at the local strip mall where he had to deal with a bunch of little kids whining and crying. Believe me, when he came back that night, yeah, he was like, never again. It was terrible. Something he would never do, but he just did it because he knew it would have been. He knew it was funny that just the pertaining to the story of Rudolph, him nicknaming me Rudolph for my nose, and him serving a smelly submarine and having a big fat jolly gut. But well, he wasn't big and fat, but he had like a little bowl of jelly gut that my grandmother used to bust his chops about. But anyways, my other grandfather was he was a wine connoisseur and very kind of, he had that dark humor. He's seen a lot of stuff over in he was there for the atomic bomb drop and the terrible side of war. He was there afterwards and witnessed the ghostly shadows of what happens when an atomic bomb drops, and he was there fighting, and obviously there was a lot of terrible things there, like you see in the monuments. There were some of the most fiercest battles, and he also fought in Korea as well. But he was a good man who he liked his cigars and his wine and his cheeses. You sit by the fireplace and smoke a cigar and drink his wine. I go take a walk around this neighborhood, and I can remember when I was a kid, him and my uncle joking around with my mother one day when I was really young about being Johnny Appleseed of grapes. So he used to have a grapevine in his backyard. I did too, growing up. We did too in that small house. And he took a bunch of grapes and he would go around the neighborhood and throw them in places where he thought that they would grow wild. And I walk around, there are grapevines all over the place. So, and I remember my Uncle Billy saying that he threw some grapes over in a certain area and even like planted them a little bit. So, and there is a tree there. So it's pretty interesting to see this big grapevine tree keep coming back every year and know that they planted it when I was, just a little kid, probably 5 years old or something. But it's funny when the memories come back and you can reminisce on that and be like, wow, it's actually there and growing. So definitely interesting. But he was an interesting character, and that's also in my book. And um, so, and this Vanalizer character, it's really a great character. It is. Um, the first book, Little Banner, was the introduction, like I said, and then I've been, just writing the sequels to it. Kind of, I put a couple of one up there that was the sequel, and I was thinking about doing the kind of comic book continuance of it. I like comics, I like to not really well at drawing, but I think eventually that versus writing another novel, I think what I'll do is just do a bunch of short continuances of the character and his adventures and what he'll be going through. And it's really a great character. And you could see it out in society already starting to, people are kind of, people that I've introduced it to, and they're already kind of joking with it, even though I haven't quite revealed it yet. And we have that bog down of people trying to steal my story, really trying to financially oppress my family, and it even went to intimidation and whatnot when I was younger. But without, it was like, I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't even aware of it until later on, until I looked back and I was like, wow. But at the same time, we were going through a lot of stuff here in this town as well. We had a serial killer in our town who killed a couple of our families, and we had, like I said before, just a lot of tragedy. But tragedy happens in life, and all we can do is move on and stay positive, and keep smiling, and keep on trucking, and that's what I'll do. And for me, I'm not really, my generation is obviously more of a movie, motion pictures type guy, so type friends, and I like movies, and that's what I look forward to doing. I intend on producing both of these movies from my company, EMV Productions. That's simply just my initials, EMV, and I will do it myself, just for the fact that I know that my grandfathers would be so angry if they know that, if I couldn't do it myself. That's just ridiculous. I pick up, I know how to take pictures. I've always been, artistic, and I could certainly, with help, produce and create these movies, and make them really great for the public. And that's what I intend to do. Might take a little more than usual paddling in the milk, so to speak, to make cheese, so I can stand up and start working here. But that's a lot of, it's just that dark cloud, that just lingers, and it's too bad. It's sad, really. It could have been a good thing for everyone if that didn't happen. But nah, it happened, and I know that people will recognize. I know they are recognizing it, and I know they will recognize the value of the story, and see that without a doubt, that's definitely, what happened. And and like I said, I would need help doing it anyway. You can't do it alone. And so, and that'll be, I'm sure that'll be in the near future. Um, Now, with my family, also, what I have to be aware of is the political discussing side of it as well. That I think I brought up before. Excuse me. Where some of these people running for positions, they see my family history. I'm alive and well and smiling, and my handsome, beautiful face here. I'm sure it's very ugly to some of the people that did terrible things to my family, unbeknownst to me, when I was drowning in this sorrow of people dying all around me and whatnot, and just trying to get up in the world as a child. But to stand next to me with my family history, and to have me kind of endorse them, or them be a hero. That's the other problem of it. Everyone wants to be this kind of, like, be a hero if you, do this or do that, and politically, they will essentially get people's respect and admiration and love that my grandfathers would have received for their sacrifices if they saved me, so to speak, and I just can't have that, I'm not gonna go down that path. And as soon as, I will not lie about anything or anybody. So as far as social media goes, I will tell you the very truth of what I've been through, and I think it's horrible. I'll tell you the truth about ebooks and Google Play, Amazon Kindle, and Apple iBooks, and what I've experienced, at least, and it's terrible. It's simply, to me, it was just a casino. It was the only people making money to me on the internet. The people saying, come in here and sell your product. Sell your apps you made, sell your PDF files, your pictures, your literature, your books, your stories. But then once you go on there, they simply just usher you away, So they're paying these people to say, come on in here, this is lucrative. I made tons of money. Come on in, and But then once you go in there, they start taking from you. You got to pay for this and this and that and advertising. You got to, make your ads more broad. And like I said, you're basically buying likes for your own pride and ego, and they know that. They know that you need to be popular and want to be popular, and that's what they're masters at con artistry, at working your insecurities over. They know that you're all insecure. We're insecure as human beings, and they prey upon that. So for an example, you put in $100 towards ads, they'll give you 10 likes and 50 views and one almost click. And then they're like, just try it again next week. Give us, $200. You give them $200 now, without selling any of your stuff, because I don't even know if they even tried to, I don't even know if they put it out there. They probably don't, to be honest. Or they're selling it behind your back and they don't even tell you. I don't know. And so you put a couple $100 in or whatever, and then they'll give you, 100 likes, 100 views, and 2-3 link clicks. And it's just bullshit, really. It's a lie. It really is. It's crap. Especially if it's print on. They're not telling you the truth. If you have a significantly good story or family history or part of America's history or something, literature, when it comes to fictional characters, it kind of like, you can make kind of characters out of anything, you know what I mean? It's so vast. When you use your imagination, you could turn a cardboard box into a flying cardboard box dragon that, spends his nighttime as a female dentist or something. I mean, there's just so many avenues of fictional stories that. So with that, I don't know that your books that's everything, but would sell too much or any book. But you also have apps that people are making that go into there. My point is that it's more of just a casino than it is a business, and that's bad right now when we have so many computers and robots, AI technology taking so many jobs. Like I mentioned before, you go to these big time food distribution centers and product distribution centers, you'll see that, and even warehouses where they're manufacturing and producing the product, they're using robots. So it's real. It's real. It's going to be, like Terminator for real. And if you think about it, everything came true that's in even cartoons or movies. That's a subconscious release of our foresight, really. Jetsons, we all bring that up. I'm the Jetson right now. I would never believe this was gonna happen when I was growing up. That I could speak to people through a device that allows me to see myself and in live, in real time, talk with another human being across the world. I mean, it's pretty incredible, but you know, um, it's they're taking our jobs. And then when you see how much money these people are making, you'd think they'd be a little bit more generous and try to do something different. But that's just something else. So, but I won't hide it. I'm not gonna tell you that, yeah, go on there just to kiss their butt, because that's what happens. Well, Eric, if you tell the truth, they're gonna hinder you. They're gonna stifle you out of. They're gonna be against you, and that's what we use is social media now. But yeah, but that's tyranny if they do that. So, and with my family history and my story and the background of what I've been through in this life, I don't care. If that happens. If you want to hold me down for me speaking the truth of what I've been through in this life, after, I've everything that has happened. I have 150 dead friends. 100 of them burned alive in front of us, right in front of our eyes. And we were preyed upon and oppressed by law enforcement for one reason or another. It was only recently I realized that it was probably my fault, my family's fault. They came in here trying to get financial, what am I saying? They were trying to hinder me financially. They were trying to financially oppress me so they could come out and be like, well, if you want to, trying to intimidate you, so you want to tell this story and we'll help you, because you can't do it. So, there's no other explanation for it. There really isn't. You got to ask yourself as a undercover police officer, would you really go into a town with that was stricken by a serial killer, a veteran community, paratroopers, submariners, just every veteran there is in here. The school they go to is called Veteran Memorial High School. They had a couple isolated incidents of suicide, and there's really nothing going on here. They had a quadriplegic man in the neighborhood, and that's who they used, a quadriplegic man. We were at work, and they literally called and went to our works and went to our places of employment, and basically begged us to help out this quadriplegic man, ease his pain, and just be middlemen for that reason. But it wasn't really to uphold the law. It was just to deem everyone, worthless and useless, and there's so many reasons for it, political and financial. You know, politically, you could stifle somebody out. Maybe I was going to run for governor or mayor or senator or something, and they were like, we'll just nip it in the bud and make up a bunch of bullshit. And then we can uh, have scared them and financially oppress them. So we, if ever we feel like we're going to tell this story, well, the state can harness it and make the money from it. And that's what happened. But they're just, you know, they're really just local idiots. Like I said before, they're cowards. You know, they did it while everyone's looking in the other direction and not expecting our own town, our own city, our own state to be against us and to do that. And it will all come out. And I know that, you know, there's a lot of fear in these people from what they've done, but they didn't come out and try to apologize after that. They didn't try to fix it. The simple fact that they avoid this town while they're running for politics and doing this and that, just they're trying to sweep us under the rug. And you know, why would they never bring it up, and how could they never have addressed this situation in their small little state of so many deaths and suicides and just just you know. And I'm sure a lot of you out there thinking the cops are probably in there hanging your friends, and and maybe that's, you know, part of it. You know, that may be. I personally don't believe it though. You know, I don't. Maybe they did something. I believe they might have done a couple of things, but I don't think. I think it was just. I think it was just the circumstances and how things went down. I think they may have contributed to it by oppression, by the constant poking and prodding, because they did put a little uh, substation right in the middle of our small area over here, and they were constantly groping and grabbing people, and just like really doing some illegal and just downright dirty stuff to children. Even we were minors even, and whatever their intentions were, whoever they were following orders from had probably different intentions. And you got to remember, you have to think about the decades that this happened. Now, this did happen decades ago. And what was coming up in the world, and I'm also close to Boston and New York and whatnot, so they were thinking about you know movies and whatnot. There's just no doubt on my mind that there was a ulterior um, ulterior, was that how you say it? Ulterior motive of what they were doing. But I don't believe they, were just hanging people or whatever. But who knows? Maybe they were. I don't know. I think it was just some kind of just terrible circumstances, and monkey see, monkey do. Even when it comes to that, that seems to be what we are as people. People see the drama and the outcry of love and whatnot, so they do it. They follow suit. I think that's how it happened. But with that, there was oppression and definitely some illegal law enforcement going on for sure. In this small veteran community, you can imagine, when they're sitting there thinking about when people find out, what happened. So they're trying to, that's terrible. They're gonna be like, quadriplegic, man. Really? You went into a veteran community after they lost a couple families to a serial killer, and just there's so much. and they were all outstandingly sacrificing, humble human beings, and you entrapped them. It wasn't even it wasn't even in within the realm of real law. So, and they know that, believe me. And there's so many witnesses that they couldn't bury it at this point. The only way they could bury it is by constantly putting pressure on this community and on me, to the point where I thought I was losing my mind, that they knew where I was at every point. I was like, why? It's so strange. I mean, once you hear the full story and the full scope of it, you'll be mind blown. And you can imagine how it would escalate. So you come into a town, you break laws, you use a woman that wasn't even part of the law enforcement to throw us all in the back of a box truck, zip tied. We couldn't even brace ourselves. You slammed us around into the back of this vehicle like it was your day at the amusement park. You were having a blast. Not even law enforcement. You were just a friend of the detective who sat inside of a quadriplegic man's room and called people who were working or went to their work, went to their places of employment to harass them and try to get them to be drug dealers, using the fact that this guy couldn't get up out of his bed. He was in pain. The nurses gave him painkillers all the time, so what's the big deal? 20 minutes. And I would just use Maki, but I have to put a catheter in, I'd have to put a colostomy bag in, I'd have to call the nurse. Help him out, come on, you don't want him suffering. That's literally what they said. And if you said no, they would be like, come on. And we didn't have any drugs on us. They had them. They just wanted us to be these middlemen, to just then say, oh, you're drug dealers now, even though they're the ones that had the drug dealer. They're the ones that set it up. They're the ones that weren't working. They're the ones that weren't being the responsible adults of society. We were all being the responsible ones, and they just wanted us to be bad. And that's the truth. And they'll never have anything to dispute that ever, except for maybe afterwards. But afterwards, once you're labeled and given a 10-year sentence, it doesn't matter where you go, especially with BCI checks. And that's why I have a problem with them. I know I was just an innocent young man at 22 years old that got preyed upon by a crooked, entrapping police officer. And that's the truth. But what happened was I lost my job from it, so I couldn't work anymore. So I couldn't work there anymore, so I tried to get another job. And they immediately ran my name. BCI checks had just began to become very popular at that time. And when it popped up 10 years, 10 and 10, it pops up. You see 2 10s, because it wasn't 10 years probation, it was 10 years to serve. But they were going to put me on parole for 10 years, basically. Suspended over your head, meaning that no matter what you do, a judge has the right to give you that 10 years. You're supposed to be doing it. I'm basically giving you a break. And he even stated it like that within the courthouse. So, and that was my first charge ever. I never been arrested before that. So I went to get another job, and they basically said, you're like Pablo Escobar of Rhode Island now, and wouldn't give me a job. And the only way I could really get a job was through maybe a temp agency. I think they would kind of cheat me in there, or under the table, So I could never really, and it affected my life, believe me, and it made me mad, for a while. I was really angry when I was, not angry, but I was a little bit mad. But I knew how to, I was very self-reflecting, so I knew how not to get too angry, I was like, well, but, and as time went on, I feel that something happened, and they're obviously trying to get rid of me now. I'm still kicking, and it seemed like every time that I'd get a grip and a hold onto moving forward in life, it was like some real terrible things would happen. and I just couldn't pinpoint it. You know, I couldn't think back. And my brain, I went into denial when, you know, my friends died, when Colleen died. So I couldn't see her anymore or anything in my brain. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like it goes into a room in your head and it's locked. You know, like you lock the door and throw it. You just don't look at it. I don't know what it is. It's just a way of mourning or something. But that's kind of what happened with that situation. You know, it's like my brain was like, let's just not think about why this is happening. I couldn't never put it together. Like, this is them cops in that their illegal activities following you around. I just couldn't link it together in my brain. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not stupid, but it was like I had selective amnesia for them somehow. Very weird, right? So I in certain situations, when I was moving forward, it would just be weird. And I was like, what the hell? I thought it was, I didn't know. I just was like, there was a time in my life where I thought I was a serial killer in my past life or something. And I was just being punished. I had the same soul or something. I don't know. I was thinking all kinds of stuff for a while. For the amount of weird, perfect timing and weird crap that was happening to me. I was like, what the hell? Every time something would go good, it would have to, like, it would get destroyed, like, immediately. It was very weird. And I could never put the two together. And then finally, I was woken up to what was really going on. I'm over here thinking it was, spiritual, this and that. And, it's basically like, one of them Scooby-Doo cartoons where there's all these ghosts and goblins around. And then at the end of it all, they unmask these. They're just people, trying to use, God or some spiritual excuses for what they've done, just to try to stop them from being persecuted by the law, by the people. Especially in these towns around here where you're close to Salem, Massachusetts, and you have all that witchcraftery and whatnot. So it was definitely strange. And it came in waves. It did come in waves. There was times when, it was bad and then it would lighten up. But like I said, as soon as it would lighten up and I'd start to see a little bit of the clouds, the fog clearing away, it would get worse, and it's still going on. So that's what happens. But now I just move forward and do my best to stay positive and happy no matter what, and that's it, and tell my story and relinquish or give my family the respect that they deserve and would get in public if I went to any of these people that did this to me and told them my family history in front of the camera, in front of the public eye, in front of Navy men and women, in front of Air Force men and women, in front of the Army men and women, in front of the Marine men and women. They would just be like, your family. They wouldn't treat me with anything other than respect. And I'm not a part of them, but my family was, and most of my family. And like I said, I would have been, but it wasn't their wishes, really, to be honest. They probably wanted me to tell my story. I told you that before. I went into join, just following suit with my family. And they said, no, don't. They said, we don't want you to join. I'm sure that was one of the reasons. I just couldn't, I just didn't know why at the time. I didn't ask him. I was like, all right. He told me that, the recruiter told me that No, he's like, you know, we have all this technology now. We're not really looking for people, and your family's done enough. But he probably knew that there was a story to be told or whatever. That maybe my grandfathers kind of chose me to tell, a little bit of their story or whatever. Or at least that's what they were thinking about. And I'm sure it's true that our technology and powers were just superior, and there was no need for people at that moment in time. I think it was right after the Iraq. It would have been in 90s or something. So it was probably right after the Iraq war, where it was kind of a turkey shoot there, and against their army. They're well trained and equipped army. So, but so that's what I'll do. I will just keep moving forward, and it's hard. It's hard to wake up every day and to face that. I feel betrayed. I feel, I feel I'm hurt that this should have just been. No matter how you look at it, we shouldn't have been treated like this, and it's just, I think it's a great, and another thing that I have to keep in my mind every day is that I know I got a great story. I know that it's a wonderful story that everyone's going to want to hear, read, and watch. There's just not a doubt in my mind. I could see that, but everyone around me that tried to do this, that tried to oppress me and to steal my rights and my story, and they did it in so many different ways. They have to now downplay my family, myself, my story, and the sacrifices that my family has put forth. Whether it was running through the jungles in Vietnam, and you'll see it on my Instagram account. I know that you scroll through it and you're like, wow, I know that's what people are thinking, even though your investor side is like, we got to tell them it's worthless. And you see my story, the whole entirety of the story now, which is almost, it's too much of a story, but it should have been different, more lighthearted, and just, but like I said, that's what happened. And then of course, then there was normal, regular life tragedy that happened, car accidents, seat belts, cars were becoming, more, I don't know, faster, and just all kinds of things happen. But it's life, But I know that you look at my story and you're like, yeah, absolutely, people would watch that. And I mean, come on. And but these people would have to say that you're worthless. Your family's boring. You're an average Joe. There's nothing different about you. You're just boring. You're just narcissistic, and you're an egotistical maniac, and your story's worthless. And they have to say that. If they say otherwise, then they admit guilt of trying to rob it and trying to financially oppress me and intimidate my family for when that time came to tell the story. They wanted to be there, they wanted to be there, to take it, to somehow acquire the greater percentages in the story in itself. And that's what happened. That's the truth. And it is. They know it is. And the problem is that investors out there will now use them as an excuse to belittle your story, because they want as much as they can get for as little money as possible, as little participation as possible. And now, don't forget, now people subconsciously and consciously know that Erica's being targeted by police officers, law enforcement. Not many, just a couple, and even governments, governor and officials, Superior Court judges. Now, you become stuck in the crosshairs if you were to give me a job and love me and like my parent, like my story and my grandfathers, my grandparents, and stuff like that. Now you become possibly a target. Nobody wants to get pulled over every time they go to a restaurant and have a drink and leave. And that's what would probably happen. You know, and they don't know if even standing next to me if these guys are just going to try to get rid of you now because they just want to get rid of this problem as they become more successful. And don't forget, this is a small town, so to most other states, they could have just, you know, they can't really bully you in another state. They can just bully the people here, you know, and subtly. They don't have to do it right out. They don't have to come up to you and slap you and say, you know, we're you know, telling you to stay away from this guy or whatever, don't help him out or something. They can do it subtly. Just throw a couple cops behind them. All of a sudden, I get a job with somebody. If somebody hires me at a place of employment, next thing you know, they know about my story, got wind of it, and then all of a sudden there's more blue and red lights behind them every day, everywhere they go. Now, that's when that weird, almost spiritual, everyone's against me starts having this weird, that's them realizing that now I'm going to be in this oppression that he's facing. Now I got to face, you know, crooked police officers. And that's what happened. And that's what happened to every situation. And it was bad. I mean, I went into dentists to fix my teeth and whatnot, and I had some terrible experiences in there. And again, I wasn't thinking about this, so I was blaming it on like just some spiritual friggin', you know, Salem, Massachusetts. Just to give you a quick example, I went in to have some work done, get some caps put on my teeth, and have a tooth pulled. And it was Aspen Dental I went into. And I went in there. There was a gentleman in there, took me into the seat. He put me down. He's like, I'm waiting for my assistant to come in. And I was just, you know, thinking nothing of it. I was like, all right, whatever. And so this assistant comes in, it's a female, and she's wearing high heels. And, you know, she looks like a stripper, pretty much. Her breasts are falling out of her blouse, and she states that I went out last night and, you know, I went out to have a drink with a friend of mine, and I forgot my scrubs. I didn't take them with me. I didn't go home, so I came right here. And, you know, I was like, me being a guy that has been through everything in the world, I'm like, I don't want to judge people, and I don't want to give them, I've seen a lot of, you know, weird scenarios where people may look like they don't belong there, and then they do, and they do a great job at it, whatever. But, so they start working on my teeth, and immediately they, you know, they sedated me and whatnot, and they were trying to pull a wisdom tooth out, and they kept taking turns. I mean, they were talking while they were taking turns and whatnot, and they kept slipping off my tooth and smacking my other teeth, and I'm sedated, and I'm like thinking to myself, what the, you know, what's going on here, you know? But I was like, I gotta just go through it now, you know, can't stop now. They have pulling out my teeth and whatnot. And then eventually, I stayed there for hours. I mean, I was there for 8 to 10 hours with them doing weird crap. Her walking around me and sticking her breasts in my face, and you know, just the sound of heels, stripper shoes, like clinking around your dental chair. It was kind of, you know, it was weird, and it was just creepy, you know. But, and then at the end of it all, they couldn't get the tooth out, right? They like slated one of my teeth and had to fix it, and one of my other teeth because they kept using the wrong tools and whatnot. So they called the orthodontist, the surgical dentist, who comes in there, and I explained to him, I'm like, dude, I've been sitting here for 8 hours, and these guys been sitting there playing around trying to pull out one tooth. And he's like, yeah, they're trying to save money. They didn't want to call me up because they have to pay me to come here. So they're trying to save money for themselves or something. And he was upset about it. And then he puts, he grabs a syringe with the Novocaine in it. And I felt a little pinch in my tooth. And then he throws he had a little case. And he pulled an instrument out of his case. And he messed around my mouth for like a couple seconds. It was literally 10 seconds. And then he puts the thing down. And he's like, all right, that's it, I'm done. And it was out. I felt a little bit of pressure when he was doing it, but I didn't even know that he had pulled my tooth out after hours of them doing weird stuff and putting me through pain and suffering. And I was like, wow, that's incredible that I sat there for hours going through all that weird shit. And it took this man, seconds to numb my tooth out, put the proper tool on there, and then with the twist and a little bit of strength of his wrist, he was able to just pull this wisdom tooth out in no time with very little pain and just a little pressure feeling. Nothing. It was nothing, really, after what I went through. And then, I go back later on thinking they're not going to do this again. I go back to the same dentist, right? I come back into this town after I moved away for a while. And I was like, I'm going to go back there. I thought not to. I was like, I shouldn't go back there. It was a bad experience last time. But I was like, what's the chance of them doing something again? And the same thing happened again. They had like these old... It's so strange because I just went to a Civil War convention. No, not convention, museum. And I seen these old like surgeons' utensils and dentists' utensils, and they were like wooden and all serrated. They look really, scary. And it seemed like similar. They were using similar utensils. And the way this woman was acting to pull out my teeth, it was very strange. I had another tooth I needed to pull out. I had to do some fixing on them, and I have small teeth. My family, they always had like small teeth and not strong teeth. My grandfathers didn't either, so but very small, so if a little cavity would go, like, it would be terrible, but so I'm not thinking I'm not thinking about my past. I'm not really thinking about these detective, judge, and governor now that's, gunning for me. So I go into this dentist, and there she is with this weird utensils in there, and they start sticking needles in my gums to numb me up, and I felt like nothing. There was nothing, no numbness at all. And then they stuck something in there and started wiggling it around, and it hurt so bad, like there was nothing. Like, I mean, I normally, I know what it's like to at least be numbed up, that you feel the first pinch, and then the kind of second, third one's not that bad, it's just numb, you feel a little pressure. And I knew that there was nothing. They didn't put any Novocaine in them needles. I know they didn't. And the way she was like doing strange things around me, it was very, very weird. And the utensils she was using were very outdated. I know they were. There's no way that they were just... It was like a spade. It looked like it looked like a serrated shark's tooth or something at the end of it. It was just... And they were, and she suggested that, after a little bit of pain I went through, she was like, oh, why don't you just come back to have the surgeon do it then? I suspected at that point that it was a little intimidation tactic, and I kind of got mad, and I was like, no, just pull it out then, and I forced her to pull these teeth out with no Novocaine or no proper tools. And she kept leaving the room and talking. I don't know where she was going, but she couldn't pull them out. She had no strength to do it. I had to grab her hand and use my own strength to try to pull these teeth out. And it was pain, believe me. But I was just like, I just wanted to just get it done and and make them go through that, since they want to, and I know, I just know that once the FBI looks into this person and I see who it was in that dentist in that office that day, she's gonna have ties to these people. I guarantee it. I just know it. I know that she was trying to. These people are very smart at not breaking laws when they intimidate people. And I've given you an example. They'll put people that look like mobsters out in front of your work place of employment and get out of their car, and pretty much do this. But you can't prove they're really doing it to you. It's not breaking the law. And then your mind runs away with who they're using to intimidate you, and nobody likes to be intimidated anyway, but that's what they do. They know how to do that stuff, believe me. And so, and that's, that's what I went through my whole life. And I was never able to connect the dots for a long time. And, but thank God, right, that I can now. And we'll just move this thing forward. And that's my truth on God. That's what I went through in real life. It's crazy. And it's almost like they, I feel like they're going to use the fact that I needed drama in my, I feel like they were hiding behind the fact that was just for a page in your book, drama. They get to kind of say that, you know what I mean? Like, we did that just for you, Eric. It was so you can have it. But I already had so much drama in my life that I didn't want any more drama. And I've read and seen enough stories where I could implement a fictional character of an evil character or enemy or whatever you want to say. An arch enemy, whatever they are. I didn't need anybody to physically hurt me or it's just intimidation. That's what it is. That's, it's a form of intimidation without actually breaking the law. You can't prove it. They're just going to say they were shitty dentists. That's all. People make mistakes. But believe me, that is real. And that's what happened so much. And with law enforcement, now, law enforcement did follow me everywhere and made me paranoid, but there is also a side where they might be doing kind of weird, truly believe in that. You just give them a little drama, a little extra different, and just to nose this thing, there would be, but you can kind of tell intentions, you know what I mean? I know that there was a divide. I know that there are people like, we know what's going on here. We just can't say it because we don't want to get targeted and lose our jobs. I know that there was law enforcement on my side as well, but they just didn't want to full say it because they don't want to get fired and have no, then they can't do shit. Then they're stuck. So that's the life that I had to go through, and I still am to this day, right now. I mean, I don't know. I feel like something happened out there, but I'm not sure what. It's so difficult that I got to worry about all this, and I have to tell these stories. These are my life. This is all I have. This is my life. These are people that sacrifice for our country, for our very lives. I can't just let these stories go because some lady's gonna, or some man, some ignorant pieces of shit are trying to take it from me. I can't do that, and I won't do that. And like I said before, narcissism and narcissistic people, I mean, it is just incredible how they think. It really is. They could literally shoot you 20 times and leave you for dead. And then if you make it through, they somehow want to pretend like it was tough love. Like they're responsible for the good side of it somehow, for you persevering through it. That's what they'll tell people, at least, or themselves. I don't, it's incredible. But that's the truth. And I know that you see that, and you will see it more and more every day. But that being said, keep smiling and keep trucking.